Join Carol Davies on Global Voice Radio, the host of Only the Best for You. Be a change maker and unlock the secret to your best life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Only the Best for You, here on Global Voice Radio. My name is Carol Davies at the Passion Motivator Coaching Company. I'm so pleased each week to share with you the best information and speakers about how you can be a change maker in the world and yourself the best you can be. Today I'm reporting to you on a topic that has long intrigued me. How can women break the so-called glass ceiling in the business world? The term glass ceiling came into use in 1986 when two Wall Street Journal reporters coined the phrase to describe the invisible barrier that blocks women from the top jobs in corporate America. The Merriam Webster dictionary defines glass ceiling as an intangible barrier within a hierarchy that prevents women or minorities from obtaining upper-level positions in business or corporations. The barriers that limit women and minorities' progress towards employment equity extend from the glass ceiling at the top of corporations to the floor of low-paying jobs in the labor market. These barriers are created by a process at exclusion that continuously eliminates women, minorities, and other underprivileged groups from being candidates of higher positions. When a company exercises this type of discrimination, they look for the most defensible explanation they can find to make this behavior seem acceptable. The glass ceiling is still very much a part of the corporate world, and this type of discrimination is really indefensible. People who feel that they have had their opportunities blocked may also feel that their aspirations have been limited. Some organizations mirror society's idea about which group of workers are appropriate for certain types of jobs. Although hiring and promotion are supposed to be based on rational and universal criteria, they often express informal expectations about gender, race, and class of the people best suited for particular positions, producing race and gender stratified workforces. Men are thought to be more ambitious, task-oriented, and work-involved, while women are considered less motivated, less committed, and more geared towards work relationships than work itself. Gender and race are often synonymous with one's place in organizational power structures. These individuals who occupy the top positions have a tradition in maintaining traditional roles and procedures related to hiring, seniority, and other personnel practices that work to their advantage and exclude others. A good example is that corporate policies and practices can subtly maintain the status quo by keeping men in positions of corporate power. Boards of directors, which are mostly comprised of men, sometimes perpetuate the status quo by selecting CEOs who look like them and act like them. Other gender-based barriers include behavioral and communication styles that differ vastly from the company's norms, and women's lack of opportunity to gain general management and/or line experience. There was, in 1984, a very interesting article by Nora Frenkiel. She used the term glass ceiling in 1984. And when we look at progress today, more than 30 years later, really very little has changed. In 1995, there were no women serving as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and only 10% served as board members. Now, women make up 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs, and women's boardroom participation sits at around 17%. Right now, more than half of all managerial and professional occupations in the US are held by women. Furthermore, the vast majority of the public, around 80%, agree that both genders are equally capable of leading in the business world now. In fact, it has been found that firms with more women in command are more profitable than those with fewer. Gains are being made, and efforts made to develop and recruit women and minorities, ensure fair practices, and eliminate biases. And these are coming to the forefront of public discussion. As a result of this increased attention, the world's top researchers and leaders have contributed to the conversation in meaningful ways. Below, and how we can express this, are three findings that have been revealed. We have to understand the confidence gap. A meticulous study by Washington State University psychologist Joyce Erlinger and Cornell psychologist David Dunning found that men overestimate their abilities and performance, while women underestimate both. In reality, the quality of their performances do not differ. This confidence gap is alarming given the growing body of evidence that shows just how devastating lack of confidence can be. Success, it turns out, correlates just as closely with confidence as it does with actual competence. Virginia Rometty, and CEO of IBM and first woman to head the company, recounted the following experience from early in her career. She was offered a top position but felt she didn't have enough experience. She told the recruiter she needed time to think about it and would give him an answer the next day. That night, her husband asked her, "Do you think a man would ever have answered the question that way?" She said, "What it taught me was you have to be very confident, even though you're so self-critical inside about what it is you may and may not know. And that, to me, leads to taking risks. And a lot of women have been taught not to engage in risk-taking behavior." Another finding is, don't negotiate like a man, negotiate like a woman. Linda Babcock, a professor of economics at Carnegie Mellon University and the author of Women Don't Ask, has found male business school students initiate salary negotiations 4 times as often as female students do, and that when women do negotiate, they ask for 30% less money than men do. Researchers have examined why this is, and have found that women may be avoiding negotiations because they perceive that there is a social cost to be paid for engaging in these type of interactions. Rightfully so. Women are in fact penalized more than men for initiating negotiations. So how does a person successfully advocate for herself given the associated risks? There is a recommendation by Hannah Riley Bowles of Harvard's Kennedy School, who says that women can negotiate successfully through using a relational account or an I-we strategy. The key to a relational account or I-we strategy is to explain why your counterpart should perceive your negotiating as legitimate in terms that also communicate your concern for organizational relationships, she explains. Now, after receiving her first job offer from Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg recounts the following. She said, I went back to Mark and said I couldn't accept, but I prefaced it by saying to him, of course, you realize that you're hiring me to run your ideal team. So you want me to be a good negotiator. This is the only time you and I will ever be on opposite sides of the table. She negotiated effectively by connecting what is good for her with what is good for the company. And it's also recommended that women get comfortable with rejection. Well, women begin their careers with ambitions that are just as high, if not slightly higher than their male counterparts. Most eventually scale back their goals and become less likely to pursue promotions, job transfers, and high-profile assignments. Pretty soon, this is because women are more risk-averse or have career preferences that differ from their male colleagues. Another study concluded that there is a subtle reason. This study of more than 10,000 senior executives in the UK found that women were much more likely to apply for a job if they had been rejected for a similar job in the past. Men were also less likely to apply if they had been rejected, but the effect was much stronger for women, more than 1.5 times as strong. Lydia Bigelow, associate professor of entrepreneurship and strategy at the David Eccles School of Business, incorporated that study in a recent article about unicorn startups, female entrepreneurs, and the importance of persistence for women. The takeaway for employers and policymakers is that while encouraging more women to throw their hat into the ring is worthwhile, it's even more valuable to ensure that recruiting and promotion processes are indeed fair, objective, and transparent. As for women and minorities themselves, see rejection as an environment for progress and courage, rather than a reflection of personal value. Have you never been rejected? Then just aim higher. Anna Wintour, editor-in-chief and publisher of Vogue magazine, was originally rejected by the very industry she now runs. After just 9 months as a junior fashion editor, she was fired from Harper's Bazaar for being too edgy. At a fashion industry conference recently in New York, Wintour told the audience, I worked for American Harper's Bazaar. They fired me. I recommend that you all get fired. It's a great learning experience. I think this is very interesting to examine some remarks by Arianna Huffington. She says that men designed the traditional concept of career success, and it's holding women back. It's not enough for women in any industry to look at breaking through the glass ceiling. We actually need to change workplaces, she says. This was at a panel meeting of the 8th annual Women in the World New York Summit. Women are not working well because the principles are not working for men either. Just more or less the principles, that everyone gets by on are just not working anymore. In other words, the leadership disparity between men and women is more than just a woman's problem. Arianna Huffington is the founder and CEO of Huffington Post and founder and CEO of Thrive Global. And she spoke recently with other women executives about why it's everyone's responsibility to close the gap. For one, diverse teams outperform homogeneous teams. Startups with women leaders deliver more than 60% better results, said Sally Krawcheck, CEO and co-founder of Ellevest, and chairman of the Elevate Network. It's in the best interests of businesses in Wall Street to make their teams less male and white, she said. As YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki noted, more diversity in tech companies will result in more products and services being accessible to everyone. But so many companies don't have diverse teams, Krachek said, because of the biases about what leadership looks like. Miki Suzaka, CMO senior partner and managing director at the Boston Consulting Group, succinctly described the forces that limit women and minorities. It's not a capability issue, she said. It's not about a lack of ambition. It's the context and it's the surroundings. The context varies from company to company and from country to country. The world over, however, women and minorities struggle to overcome gender biases that burden them in their personal and professional lives. Krachek says, in my experience, the real change comes from having senior women in the companies, noting that initiatives to get more women on boards are important, but are only one piece of the puzzle. It's the women who make the micro decisions in the companies. From establishing policies that allow women to have flexible schedules without feeling ashamed, to ensuring workplaces that have various areas specially set aside, especially for women who are breastfeeding, it's often women within organizations who ensure that other women are able to care for their families without sacrificing their careers. Men have important roles to foster a culture that is respectful to women and to help them into positions where they can make those decisions that will benefit other women. For one, they can resist a misogynic culture by calling out male colleagues when they make inappropriate comments about women. They can also use their power to support women in all sorts of ways, from making a point of hiring and promoting them to helping them network. Company leaders can also ask their female employees what they value. Huffington said she does this at Thrive Global. For example, it might be important for a mother to take her child to school every morning, and that means she might have to start a little later. Companies can accommodate these schedules frequently and hold meetings later in the day when possible, making career and family seem less mutually exclusive. So let's recap a bit. Women who were close enough to see higher level positions on the corporate ladder and yet couldn't reach them face a barrier referred to as the glass ceiling. As we said, it often prevents women from achieving success in management roles and bars women and minority in management roles from reaching director or executive level positions. Women cracking the glass ceiling is a far more successful endeavor with their employers' support. Here are some things that can be done at the corporate level. For planning, succession plans ensure business continuity and leadership through identifying in-house talent or employees within the organization's current workforce who are interested in assuming higher level and more responsible roles within the company. Employers can help women break through the glass ceiling by looking closely at the women they currently employ, who demonstrate both interest and aptitude in moving up in the organization. Identifying talent is the first step in providing opportunities to employees regardless of gender. Now we can look at mentoring. Developing a formal mentor-protege program that pairs management employees with non-management female employees or those of minorities can provide one-on-one coaching and professional development activities that they need to aspire to higher level roles in the organization. In addition to coaching and development, those who are identified as protégés will benefit from the support and guidance that mentors provide as they assume positions with more responsibility and greater impact on the organization. This approach for helping women crack the glass ceiling has twofold benefits. Women benefit from personal attention to their professional development needs, and employers benefit from the positive effects that leadership and management support has on employee retention. Now, goal setting is very important. We've all heard of what we call SMART goal setting, which is a management method conceptualized by management guru Peter Drucker in his Management by Objectives framework. SMART, S-M-A-R-T, refers to goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Although achievable and time-specific often are substituted for the A and the T. An effective time for supervisors and managers to assist employees with goal setting is at performance appraisal sessions. Employers willing to help women and minorities break through the glass ceiling should encourage managers who evaluate them to assist them in setting professional goals. However, goal setting alone isn't a panacea for upward mobility. Measuring progress and recognizing completion of those goals are essential follow-up activities. Now we can look at training. Training and professional development are crucial elements of any succession plan. Women and minorities who have benefited from mentor-protege relationships also need formal leadership training and professional development. Employer-sponsored training programs, tuition reimbursement, and paid time off to pursue work-related networking events such as professional conferences and association meetings are also helpful to women and minorities interested in climbing the corporate ladder to higher level positions. The key to ensuring employees actually can take advantage of training and professional development opportunities is to create line items in the organization's budget for employee training. Because human resources isn't a revenue-producing department, budgets for HR activities and training are often the first to be cut. Employers should view training as a workforce investment, not a discretionary expenditure. And other considerations. Employers who develop programs for women and minorities seeking career advancement generally tout their organizations as the best places for women and minorities to excel. Although providing training and promotion opportunities is an admirable goal, employers mustn't specifically exclude other employees from taking advantage of these opportunities. To prevent claims of disparate interest, employers should make participation in leadership training, tuition assistance programs, and mentoring relationships, and the like, available to all employees. It's perfectly acceptable to work towards improving promotion opportunities for women, however, but employers must also provide equal opportunity to the entire workforce. So I hope that some of the suggestions I've made today about how it might be possible to break through the glass ceiling have resonated with you, and I'd really love to know if you would like any further information or would like to speak to me further on this topic. If so, please contact me through my website, www.thepassionmotivator.com, or by email at coachcaroldavies@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Remember, you can change your life at any time and become the success you want to be. I look forward to connecting with you again next week. Bye now.
in every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern for Only the Best for You with Carol Davies on Global Voice Radio.